Peter Drucker once said, "The non-profit institution neither supplies goods or services nor controls. Its product is neither a pair of shoes nor an effective regulation. Its product is a changed human being." The non-profit institutions are human change agents. Their product is a cured patient, a child that learns, a young man or woman grown into a self-respecting adult, a changed human life altogether. It's clear that a non-profit organization is an entirely different beast. Non-profits have a very unique nature and purpose. And so naturally, we can expect that the art of managing a non-profit is very different, at least in some respects, from managing a for-profit business. So how do we make that transition? How do we go from a management style focused mainly on financial KPIs to a management style focused on changing lives or improving societies? In this course, we're going to teach you how to do exactly that.
Non-profit organizations account for between 5 to 10% of the U.S. economy and about 10% of U.S. employment. In fact, the American non-profit sector employs approximately 12 million people, making it the third largest employment industry. And what about the volunteer workers? It's estimated that the volunteer hours that are contributed to non-profits in the U.S. alone can be valued at almost $190 billion. What these statistics show us is that the management of nonprofits is a critical part of the global economy. Our course is going to consist of a series of critical discussion points. These are designed to cover this broad topic as thoroughly as possible, to encourage growth in these vital areas, and to facilitate a real and fruitful discussion within your organization about how you can each improve on this essential characteristic, both at work and in your personal lives in general. Some of these will be pretty lengthy and some will be relatively straightforward and brief. At the very end of this roadmap comes the most important final step. Discussion time. Do not skip this. This is the most important part of this training. When you've finished this course, you need to spend at least an hour or so going over the questions we supply at the end as a group. Whoever's the head honcho in the group should designate a facilitator whose responsibility is that each question is covered and that everyone, time permitting, is able to have their say. Make sure all contributions are valued, all suggestions considered, and all opinions respected. So let's move into the first discussion point. Number 1. Create a team-oriented culture. As a manager of a nonprofit, you should use your influence instead of your authority. Your team should be allowed to share their ideas and thoughts. They shouldn't be hesitant to question policies and speak up when they see something wrong. Create a team-oriented space, rather than a fear-driven one. Number 2. Encourage brainstorming. Give each team member the opportunity to contribute ideas when making significant decisions that'll affect the future of the organization. When people get the opportunity to bounce ideas off each other, you can come up with creative solutions that may not be possible without the collective input of your team. Promote discussion both online and offline, and create a safe space where everyone can be heard and included. Here are some great tips to help you facilitate productive brainstorming sessions. Always provide the materials, including board books, agendas, and relevant resources ahead of time. This would give the key players enough time to prepare and ensure an organized discussion. If there are complex or critical issues that need to be addressed during the session, consider getting an impartial facilitator to direct and manage the discussion. Try to schedule brainstorming sessions within a specific block of time so your team members can be more productive. They won't have to start and stop what they're doing to accommodate any unexpected meetings. Number 3. Host team building events. Encourage your team members to spend time with each other outside of work. Team building events can strengthen relationships and boost morale. These events also help foster an open, communicative atmosphere. After all, when people get along well both in and out of the workplace, they're more likely to turn to each other for help during stressful situations. Here are some great team building events that you can look into. Host fun competitions where people can share a little bit of their personal lives with their colleagues, such as a Pet of the Month contest or a home cooking competition. Schedule a barbecue or potluck where your team can get to know each other and socialize with other members of the organization. A family day can be a great opportunity to learn more about who your team members are and what drives them. Number 4. Define goals at the beginning of every year. At the start of every new year, your organization should always look into what you've achieved for the past year and clearly define what you hope to accomplish over the following year. Setting your organization's game plan and vision for the upcoming year can help you empower your team to achieve the goals of your nonprofit. Here are some important questions to keep in mind when setting your organization's goals and plans. Do you plan to grow the organization by expanding into new locations or hiring more people? What are the needs of your team members that should be addressed this year? What benchmarks should you use to determine whether you've successfully achieved your goals? Which actionable steps will help you achieve your team's major goals? Are these actionable steps compliant with legal and fiduciary best practices? Does the organization have the necessary resources to meet its objectives? Number 5. Celebrate successes, even the small ones. Make sure that your team members know that their work is making an impact. By celebrating the successes of your team members, they can take pride in their work and understand the tangible outcomes of their contributions. After all, people feel more compelled to do their best when they can see how their work affects the organization as a whole. Here are some great ways to reward the accomplishments of your team. Avoid fostering an impersonal work environment by adding a personal touch to the recognitions, awards, and rewards that you give out to celebrate group and individual achievements. For instance, if one of your team members is a fitness buff, consider rewarding their good work with a gym membership or a wearable health tracker. Commending a team member personally can go a long way into making them feel happy and appreciated. You can do this in so many ways, such as an email to your team mentioning the employee's excellence, a shout-out during a staff meeting, or even a post on the company board or website. A wall of fame may be an old-school way to recognize the achievements of a team member, but it still works. Seeing their face and name up on that wall can give a huge morale boost. More importantly, it can also encourage the rest of the team to do their best so they can also have their turn on the wall of fame. Additional time off can be a desirable incentive for many people. Give your team members the option of getting an additional free day when they do something commendable. Number 6. Clearly define each team member's roles and responsibilities. As a manager, you shouldn't be afraid to delegate. Many nonprofits are run by people who take a hands-on management approach. While this may be beneficial when the organization is just starting out, over time, handling everything on your own can quickly drain your reserves. Trust your team members to get the work done right and on time. Make sure that you have a written document that outlines the roles and responsibilities of each member of your organization. This will provide clear-cut boundaries and parameters so everyone understands their respective functions. Number 7. Ensure accountability and transparency. For any nonprofit organization, keeping the public's trust is paramount. Remember, it only takes losing one donor's confidence to knock down a reputation that had taken years to build. For this reason, make sure that you have a written policy for ethical behavior that everyone in the organization adheres to. Check out the following tips to help you create a more open organization. Everyone should know what is expected of them when it comes to availability, work hours, communication and correspondences, reporting to management and others. This will help prevent misunderstandings and questions about preferential treatment in the future. Make sure that any crucial decisions and the reasons behind them are made available to the rest of the organization. Encourage feedback from your team. Give them the opportunity to point your attention to any areas where you need to improve. Make sure that they know that they won't be penalized for any negative feedback that they present. Knowing where you're doing well and where you're lacking will help you grow as a manager and as a leader. Hold every member of the team accountable to each other. They should be comfortable challenging ideas, identifying problems, and being transparent about the work they're doing. They should also know that accountability isn't about who's going to take the blame. It's about being responsible for their work and the team. Number 8. Use management tools. Take a stronger step toward effective management by investing in management tools that allow your team to communicate more seamlessly, share files and resources securely, assign tasks, and schedule meetings. Although many aspects of nonprofit management require a manual approach, there's no harm in checking out technological tools that can make your life easier. Before choosing a management tool or software for your nonprofit, take note of the following considerations. Keep your budget in mind and make sure that the provider offers scalable solutions. These tools should grow with you and easily adapt to your organization's changing needs. Consider which features are indispensable for your organizations, which features can improve your current processes, and which features you simply don't need. Make sure that the tools you invest in don't have a steep learning curve. You don't want your team members to struggle with using them for weeks on end. Remember, these tools are supposed to help you improve productivity, not impede it. Number 9. Provide educational resources. Help your team members grow and improve. Remember, when you help them learn new things and develop new skills, you're also investing in the future of your organization. By empowering them to achieve their full potential, they'll feel more aligned with your organization's mission and long-term plans. Furthermore, providing them with opportunities for growth and development shows them how much you appreciate their efforts. Apart from providing them with training materials, tools, and opportunities, you can also get the new team members to shadow senior members for a few weeks. The experience will give them a better understanding of their role, the organization's culture, and what is expected of them. Number 10. Learn to say no. When you're managing a nonprofit with a philanthropic mission, you may feel that saying yes and helping everyone in the organization is what you should naturally do. However, learning how to say no as courteously and diplomatically as possible is also part of your job. Remember, saying no doesn't mean that you're unwilling to help. It only means that you're aware that your current capabilities are still lacking, and you might be able to say yes in the future when you're in a better position. Knowing your limits is crucial, especially because you're responsible for the success and failure of your team. Number 11. Create a focused weekly schedule. Plan your tasks and goals for the week in advance. Create a focused weekly schedule for your team that lists down all the essential activities, when they need to be accomplished, and your expected outcomes. This will help you avoid the burden of tasks piling up at the end of the week due to procrastination. You should also make sure that your team members don't have too much on their plate at any given time. When people juggle with too many tasks at once, they're more prone to errors. Stress from overworking can also lead to inefficiencies. Number 12. Be supportive and encouraging. People do their best work when they know that someone else is invested in their success. When your team members know that you're rooting for them to succeed, they're more likely to put in more effort to get their tasks done properly. Here are some tips that you can use. Be someone that your team can approach and be open with. Be ready to listen and offer plenty of encouragement and support to those who need it most. Never cut down your team members for making mistakes. Instead, reframe negative feedback as opportunities for the person's growth. Remember, Everyone learns and grows by experiencing trials and tribulations. You should try your best to be patient and supportive during this phase. Always try to help others succeed. To make this happen, make sure that they have the tools necessary for their work to run smoothly. Communicate your expectations so that your team members know what they need to attain. It's easy for misunderstandings to arise, especially when people don't know what's expected of them. So lay down these expectations as clearly and as early as possible. Be empathetic. Try to put yourself in your team's shoes to understand their needs and address them effectively. Number 13. Have a conflict resolution policy in place. Knowing how to resolve issues is a significant aspect of your role as a nonprofit manager. If there's a conflict between the members of your team, it is your responsibility to resolve it. Make sure that you have a system in place to prevent these problems from delaying work and causing bigger issues within the organization. Number 14. Prioritize communication. Good communication is key in any kind of workplace. For nonprofits, clear and open communication lines are crucial for successfully delivering much-needed services to the community. Open and easily accessible communication lines don't just drive collaboration, they're also great for team morale. Here are some tips to keep in mind. If your team is working remotely, use video conference calls whenever possible. A lot of people tend to pay less attention to audio-only meetings. Make sure that regular team meetings are a part of your weekly schedule. This will allow you to check up on the progress of any pending tasks or projects. It's also the perfect opportunity to address any problems or issues that your team is currently facing. Set individual check-ins periodically. This will help you identify if any of your team members need help, if their team morale is still strong and kicking, or if they're experiencing any troubles that hinder them from giving their best. You should also be readily available to your team, especially when there are urgent tasks and projects. Record and archive all team meetings so you can accommodate those who may not have been around. Avoid overwhelming your team members with dozens of emails every week. Limit the ones you do send out to the most important and time-sensitive tasks or notices. Number 15. Encourage work-life balance. Always treat your team members with respect and care. Avoid burnouts by setting limits on how many hours your team members work. Getting tasks done on time should clearly be a priority, but it should never be the detriment of your team members' health, productivity, and personal lives. Create an environment where everyone is happy to go to work. Here are some policies that you may want to try out. A reasonable vacation policy gives out the message that you respect each other's personal time and need to refuel. It also shows that you trust your team to keep the ship on course, even if a few members may not be around at the moment. Prioritize mental health and wellness. Even if your team is working from home, they should have enough time to take care of their family and personal needs. Make sure that your team members also have enough time to participate in projects and events that improve their community. This aspect is often overlooked, especially since working in a nonprofit may make people feel like they've already done their part. A wellness program that encourages team members to adopt healthy practices can help keep work stress at bay. Allow your team members to have a flexible work schedule every now and then, whether in terms of the number of hours they work every day, when they work, or where they work. This allows them to work around their personal schedules, avoid traffic, and enjoy a host of other benefits. As a bonus, flexible work arrangements allow your organization to save on office space and utilities. Number 16. Be the manager you'd want to have. No one wants to work with a manager who is rude, unappreciative of the team's efforts, and doesn't communicate well. So think about what kind of manager you'd like to have, and strive to reach that ideal. Treat your team members how you'd want to be treated if you were in their position. If you haven't figured out the leadership style that works best for you in the organization, start with what's already tried and tested. If you have leadership role models, think about what they did to earn your respect and trust. Did they regularly conduct informal chats with their team? Did they give out awards and incentives to reward a job well done? And now it's discussion time, the most important part of this training. Whoever's the head honcho in the group should designate a facilitator whose responsibility it is that each of the questions you see on your screen is covered, and that everyone, time permitting, is able to have their say. Make sure all contributions are valued, all suggestions considered, and all opinions respected.